How do you know it's recording?
Because it says record.
Wait.
Babes, this is literally my work.
Okay. He says that and then suddenly there's no recording.
I mean, it's happened to everyone in the
Okay.
film industry once at least, and then you're traumatized for life.
Okay.
I once
Don't.
didn't record at a wedding. I didn't record the moment where you put the ring onto the finger. Oops. To be fair, I filmed like 34 weddings in about 6 weeks, so that was that 4 weddings.
Hilarious.
Okay, carry on.
I just want to know, is it because you didn't press record or were you doing something else?
record,
I
yeah.
love it. So you're sitting there like,
yo, I got the shirt, it's so amazing, whoa. And you can't tell the wedding people to take it again, so.
You'll quickly marry again?
1 day later.
Okay, my lover. So, starting our inquisition for today, I'd like to talk about our intimacy. The biggest thing I navigate with couples is the one who projects desire and the one who shuts down from being projected onto. There's often one who wants more sex, but then the other who collapses because this tension of being projected on is one of taking. And I think subconsciously, our bodies can always feel that. And this is why the touch work that we're doing in my tantric work is so important, when we're touching the body without agenda and returning to touch with presence. There's so much medicine that comes from that, because now we're noticing where the pattern of projecting desire comes from and collapsing into non-desire comes from. We can just be in the moment, the heart of the moment. And so I think we have definitely experienced moments like this in our sexual dynamic, moments of tension where one of us wants something sexually and the other's like, I don't feel this right now. And I think one of the most important things in this dynamic is to name, somatically name what's coming up for each partner. And we've done that pretty well. There's been moments where it's really intense to name and then sit in the heat of that naming. But what I've noticed is that we've never left a conversation. Like, even in the heat, we've sat with it. And I see a lot of couples who name these sorts of intensities, but then there's a blowout, like a tantrum or a blaming, or there's quite a lot of activation of wounds when it comes to this dynamic, because, in both perspectives, tantric perspective and psychoanalytic, any sexual issue is actually reflecting a deeper issue with soul or with spirit. So it's always reflecting back down to the subconscious. So my question is, when we navigated these pretty intense conversations around this, and it was heated for both of us, why do you think we were able to navigate these terrains with what I think was quite a bit of grace? Do you think it was the work that we've done in the tantric space? Do you think it's just something we're naturally good at, you and I, our dynamic? Or do you feel that the work that we've done separately and together has aided in our capacity to sit in that heat?
Yeah, I think you answered it, really. Because it wasn't that easy in the beginning, especially when you're navigating a new relationship and we're trying to figure each other out, and your anger is intense, when it's there, or your frustration you express very, very expressively. And I think you explained it very, very well, is that it is the practices. It's all these practices, touch without agenda. It's all a meditation, which brings one back closer to just being able to hold oneself in these times, and then also then in that way have the capacity to also feel the other person in these times, not just get lost in ourselves. And so, yeah, definitely 100% the practices have helped a lot. I mean, I came from into this relationship never having practiced any of this before. And I mean, you've always said I've got the tantric sort of line moving through me already, and it's maybe it was a bit easier to fall into, or for it to find me. But it, yeah, I don't think I never had any of these actual tools before. Yeah.
I want to paint a picture for people around what this could look like.
Okay.
Like when I say the practices, I want to make it more practical. So I'm just trying to feel my response in heated conversations. Yes, so let's paint that. Like in the beginning, my responses to something heated may have been disproportionate, like big, for what the moment is calling for.
Yeah.
Because there was still quite a bit unresolved when it came to my shadow. And in the, I would say, working like rage work, de-armoring, Kashmiri, the Tandava, the Tantra yoga, all of these practices have allowed me to really go in and discover where there is unresolved experience in my body, which have, when we get triggered, we react so or respond so from the subconscious, and it's whether that's we're becoming conscious of that or whether it's still very unconscious. And so I remember that being quite a disproportionate part of me. And for you, I remember you can be quite avoidant.
Yeah.
Like you don't like conflict or confrontation.
That's true, yeah.
And
I'd rather use humor to dispel an issue.
And keep the peace.
Keep the peace.
And for me, it's not peace, because that then goes on to my wound of being in a family that also just wants to like put everything under the rug and just keep it there and just not say the real words for fear of rupture. But actually there was so much rupture already by not saying, by not speaking. So we were really mirroring each other, our lineage wounds, right? Because you don't come from a family where there's confrontation, like to confront something.
No, that's true. There's just a lot of passive aggressiveness because no one's dealing with the issue.
So I think to bring it back to the practices, I really started navigating my own internal terrain around what was unresolved. And I think in many ways you did the same. You know, we've done some deep work together, and yeah, there is this part of you, like when I really think of you, how you navigate this world, there is something tantric in your blood. Like it's just there. It's just innate.
Hey, my guru.
some master of some kind. And then I remember that the way that we were navigating things, it just wasn't working. And I was tired of that. I really wanted to, in conflicts, no matter what the trigger was, I wanted to really resolve it.
You wanted to be met in that conflict.
That, well. But also resolve our pain, like what's really going on here and how to change the pattern. I see this a lot with couples, being stuck in pattern.
Yeah.
Like we're doing all the work and then the trigger arrives and then we react exactly the same way. And because that's the real work, the trigger brings us back into unconsciousness. So all of this work is allowing us to become more present with what is unconscious. What have you learned from us when one of us is projecting a desire and the other one is shutting down from being projected onto?
So my experience is that I think primarily I've in our relationship been the one projecting desire, and I think without the tools, without learning the right tools, that desire just, when unmet, okay, so this is what happens is I'm projecting my desire to make love to you, and you feel because desire is like a powerful energy. It's a big energy, and it like just wants to go somewhere. It's like in you, and it's like, oh, I must. And I think the unhealthy iteration of that is like lust. It's like it wants to find a sexual path and find an end, a release, or whatever you call it. And when that's being projected onto the partner, I think they have a tendency to shut down. And so without the tools, what I've found is that I don't know where to put that desire, because the only way I think I know is through the act of sex and finding that sort of release. And by learning the right tools and the philosophies around Tantra, you learn that desire can be held. Like, we have the capacity to hold that desire, and in doing so, that desire can flow into all sorts of things in life, all kinds of other things. Like, it doesn't have to be just the sexual outlet, and so it can move into moving in the world, feeling the world, and cooking a meal, and surfing, and doing whatever you do, and that desire can really express itself through all of that. And so and then the pressure is taken off of your partner to meet that for you, to provide that service for you. It's transactional
service. Yeah, that's true.
So and then I think once you through all these practices learn that skill, it takes the pressure off of your partner. And that pressure, once the pressure is taken off, they can come to you and meet you when they feel ready for it. And then that meeting becomes so much more powerful and so much more beautiful for it, because there isn't this underlying pressure of performance, of goals, of
I love that. So what you're saying is, or what I think you're saying is, there's a leaking of desire, which is what we can feel as this like takey, expectant energy, and then embodied desire, which is really where the power is.
She has all the good words.
To embody our desire. And I think this is such a beautiful practice for people, is that when they're feeling that desire, because we're not trained in the West to culture our eros and our desire. We have to go and project it onto something. But what about when we just sit in the heat of that, in the body, that intensity, build the capacity for that intensity? So when you were speaking now, I had a question around, was there a specific practice within what we've been doing that allowed you to come back to honing your desire?
Yeah, I think Kashmiri, 100%. It's one of the most powerful practices you can do. In that time when we were dealing with this, you even said to me, please go and have a Kashmiri experience with someone else, and so that you can learn to sort of mastery.
I don't like mastery, sexuality.
That's too like goal orientated. Yeah. you can learn to harness
Yes.
your desire. And yeah, and I went and did that, and that practice, so much comes up in that practice, you know, the charge, and you really feel like, I can feel like, wow, there's this beautiful body in front of me that I'm touching. There's, you know, we're naked, and then there's all the conditionings and all the previous what's the word, the previous channels of, the only thing I've known before is that goal orientated, like I want you to sort out my desire because that's too much for me to hold, and then you feel that and you don't act on it, and then that's where you learn that you actually have the capacity to hold the desire, and there's no goal at the end of a Kashmiri, there's no happy ending, but it then just flows into life, and you just feel so beautiful and energized, and I really feel like I feel like after Kashmiri have such a drive. I find that drive that sometimes we lose through our daily life, you know, especially when we're dealing with admin, taxes, accounting, more admin. Yeah. So yes.
Oh, love, I've never heard you speak about it like that. That's beautiful. How has this influenced your relationship with your own desires? But you already answered that. What you were speaking about now, about regarding the Kashmiri, is what we call in Tantra the endless orgasm.
Oh wow.
And this is what I was saying to you, this is the real sex. Swami Rahasya, one of my teachers or mentors, speaks in his book, the Tantra horror, the Rocky Horror of Tantra.
The Rocky Horror Tantra book.
That.
Yes.
You know. Which is a brilliant book about sexuality and Tantra, and he speaks about the real Tantra. And I love the way that he'd voiced this, because there is something so potent about doing our erotic work, moving through the intensity of our erotic work, because there's so much repression around sex and repulsions and violations, and you know, everything comes up through our sexuality, everything that is in the shadow. So it's important to do the sexual shadow work, because when you move through that, you get to what Tantra calls the real sex.
Okay.
Which is the endless orgasm, which means there's no attachment to sex. The texture of sex becomes so different. And I think this is something that I think, to be honest, this was also part of our struggle in the beginning days. Was I'd already been studying Tantra for 8 years, 7-8 years when we had started dating. We were in a different place sexually. I had done a lot of sexual shadow work. And my sexuality was so simmered. And Rahasya talks about this, and I was going through a grieving period of, there's a space between sex as I knew it and coming to the real sex, and my longing was still for the sex that I knew, but yet that didn't really turn me on anymore. But the real sex also wasn't turning me on, so I was like, feeling sexless and desireless.
And there's a mourning in that.
There's a mourning in that.
We really hold on to that.
Yeah.
That kind of sex.
Intense, lusty, big desire. I so badly still wanted it. So I was in the space between, and then you were going through your process around your sexuality, and so bringing us back to the endless orgasm, the way my teachers have explained it is, it's beyond orgasm, goal-orientated, genital-stimulated orgasm as we know it. It is the endless ripple and quivering of your aliveness in every moment. And there's so much bliss in that when we realize that.
To the average person, it's so subtle that we can go through the whole of life and never notice it. And especially in this society where there's just such stimulation all the time, it's very easy to never feel it. Yeah. I think once we move, so, I was just thinking now about something like an analogy. Maybe you can tell me if this is a terrible analogy. But in our society, if we get sick, we get a cold or a flu, the tendency is to go and get some medicine to fix it. So we externalize. We don't want to be with that sickness. We don't want to sit in the snottiness or the pain or the headache, and we want to fix it. So we go and get a pill and we take the pill. So we're externalizing our feelings in a way, like we're outsourcing it for somebody else, something else to fix. And I think that could be very similar to the way we deal with desire in society. It's like, I have all this desire. It's in a layman's terms, it's like, it's my lust. It's like, I'm so horny, or I've got lust, and
I got to release.
And now I've got my partner, and I expect you to do it. You're my pull. I want you to release me.
Yes.
And to help me control my desire. But actually, through these practices, you realize that we all have the capacity to hold that and to then use it for life. And that is actually the essence of being a human being, is to feel everything. That's why we're here, is to experience, to feel the good and the bad, the contrast of pain versus bliss.
Thanks, sweetie. That's beautiful. From a tantric perspective, that is bliss. The ability to know all the levels of our humanity, and then to rest in the heart regardless. What happens when intimacy becomes less about performance and more about presence? Should I give you an example?
Sure.
Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's a bit of a tricky question. Like, you've got to really see yourself in that moment of how I see performance sexually, like my own lived experience, is, again, it ties into this piece around wanting to please another. And I perform, not like theatrics and dramatic, but more, I'm not being present with the real texture of what my body wants. I'm not honoring where my body really is, and so I just go into this performance of like, yes, I want this. And we're already making love, and then suddenly my body just turns off. And I've had many moments in my past where I've just continued. And that's a performance. That's just a level of performance. It could be something else for you.
That is because a lot of us are conditioned to be goal orientated in our lovemaking, right? And when we don't get met that way, then without the right tools, we don't know what to do with that. And then it's like, oh, I got blue balls, or like, making all these excuses, and, oh, how can you not let me finish? Or, if this is just from a man's perspective, in a heterosexual relationship, I mean, it's like trying to get you to orgasm at this, before, at the same time as me, or you didn't orgasm, how is that okay? Or like, and then I feel ashamed or something. And all of that stuff just really clouds the true feeling or experience of lovemaking. Actually, when you can move past all of those things, as I said in the first episode we did was sometimes we'll make love and it just simmers out, and neither of us have reached a climax or an orgasm, and it's because we have met each other in a place that's deeper than that. And it's so beautiful to be there, to be able to go that deep with somebody and be lost in the cosmic realm that it is. I mean, it's hard to explain. You'll probably find good ways to explain it.
No, it's perfect. That's your experience. I mean, as you were speaking now, I remember I have such a memory coming up around a lover that I had many years ago. I loved having sex. I loved what that time, it wasn't so embodied then, but it was like this really, I think when we were in our 20s, we were all really promiscuous and, you know, we were awakening to our sexuality. And so it's so exciting. But it also comes with a lot of suppressed stuff. And I remember I loved having sex, and it was an issue for him how promiscuous I was. And I remember him saying to me, because I said, I don't orgasm when I have sex. And he was like, well, what's the point of having sex then?
Oh, wow.
And then I didn't have an answer, but now I do. You know, and it sat with me for years. I was like, why did him saying that affect me so much?
Yeah.
And I remember, like, now through the work with sexuality and understanding my body more, knowing her more, making love, it's got nothing to do with that goal-orientated orgasm. Nothing. The real sex has got nothing to do with that.
That moment of orgasm is so fleeting.
It's so fleeting.
And it's amazing, obviously. But often, from a male's perspective, it's actually the moment straight after an orgasm, it often feels empty and disappointing, in a way, to me at least. And I don't necessarily believe in like withholding your what should
ejaculation?
I don't really necessarily believe in withholding your ejaculation forever. I haven't really looked into that deeply. It doesn't seem completely natural to me to always do that. But there is something to be said for always trying to reach that point and then just letting go in that moment. And yeah, so in this deepening, we find that there's so much in the that's happening all the time in the process of lovemaking that the orgasm is almost it's not even the dot on the top of the I. It's the I is capitalized. It's all joined in all one.
This reminds me so much of this thing that we have to keep our ejaculation ejaculate, which is not a tantric practice, by the way. I get a lot of people saying to me, can you teach me this? No, I can't. It's not a tantric practice. It's a Taoist practice.
Okay.
And it's a Taoist practice for health, sexual health for men, amongst other things. And from a tantric perspective, we don't believe in doing that as a tool or a method to hone your desire. It's about presence, because you can also do that, and it becomes such a contracting experience for you. And then what's the point? You know, we're saying fully surrender, fully relax, be so present with awareness, awareness aware of itself through lovemaking.
Sure.
So if that's your method, you know, as long as it's with presence.
And through being so present, you'll know if it's your method or not. You'll know.
You'll feel in your body. It's like, oh, this feels so opening and expansive. Or does it feel restricting and rigid? You know, work with the dynamism that's currently moving through you. But I also love what you were saying about orgasm. I remember my form of performance in sex or intimacy was in steps.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I don't know if you were taught as a younger...
Step 1.
step 1, this is what you do. Step 2, this is what you do. Kind of moved in steps.
Yeah.
This is how we were taught.
It's like how the GQ magazine teaches you how to have sex.
Yeah, and then all the propaganda around like sexuality.
Men's Health magazine.
Yeah. 10 steps on how to squirt. How to give the best BJ.
Yeah, 8 ways to get her to come every 5 times in a row.
I mean, I remember magazines like that. So we've been manipulated into thinking that's the way.
It's a goal-orientated thing. Reach level 4.
Yeah. But where's the presence? And what happens when we're making love with presence, not performance, is we're entering the real sex.
Yeah.
And dissolving everything that's in the way of that, which is a painful process in the beginning.
But we're losing the mind and entering the body. We're not thinking about
the thinking mind. We're losing the thinking mind. Yeah.
You can never lose your mind completely.
Not the Shiva mind. I lost my mind. Coming back to the body as altar, what does it actually mean to you to experience the body as an altar? How has it changed the way you meet me?
Wow.
You always revered my body.
It's true. I think, though, that I also lusted after your body. I mean, I still do, because you've got a beautiful body. To me, your body is amazing. And but again, through
I don't mind that you lust after me.
Sometimes it's really nice, you know.
It is.
But
we play into it, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. So I think that if that's the only way you know how to look at a body, it's objectifying, which is, it's okay that you do that, because that's the only way we've been taught. If you're being taught through normal life avenues in the West, that's the way you get taught. It's like, it's an objectification, not a reverence for that person's body. And so you're touching with the intention of taking something. You're like, I want to own this. I want to put a ring on it and own it.
Or not even
nothing against marriage, but sometimes that is what that is, you know.
Yeah.
And you want to have it. You see this hot body on the social, on a picture, and you're like, I want that. I want to keep it for myself, put it in my pocket. And that's such objectification. And when you can have this practice that allows you to really be with the other's body, it creates this deep reverence for the body, and realizing that it's a sacred, and it's a sacred thing, and it's meant to be treated as such. You know, it's not a toy to throw around.
But also, in saying, you know, the pieces with objectification, and I don't want to like school that like bad objectification.
No,
it's in Tantra we bring all that in, like we can work consciously with that.
Okay.
And I think we have. That's why I'm saying it's fun when you lust after me, because we're conscious of it, and it's like we can play into that and navigate that shadow piece or that tension. But from a tantric perspective, the body is seen as this altar where liberation unfolds.
Okay.
You know, the Tantra Loka, which is a tantric teaching, speaks into this, that the body itself and the senses, when we enter with awareness, when we become so embodied, we're experiencing the whole of reality through the body. And we become liberated through the body. It's not, we don't have to transcend the body or leave the body or just sit with and observe. No, we're really going into the immensity of our humanity through the body. This is the tantric experience. We want to indulge fully.
Okay.
So,
you're not going to go sit in the cave and
You could if that's your path,
Okay.
you know, if that's your path.
Mm.
But not really. Tantrics are of, they're householders, they're of reality.
Mm. Yeah.
They're absorbed into life.
And so the tools that you're providing are helping to be
Fully in
everyday life.
Yeah.
Not to have to go sit in a cave to experience
Yes.
the life.
Exactly. But tantrics are wild. They're intoxicated by their own being. I mean, Shiva was intoxicated by his own being. He would be in Vipassana and sit there in meditation, and then all of a sudden he would get up and dance in the Tandava, so intoxicated and in awe of his own being, of reality.
Okay.
And this symbolizes how the body is this principle of, if you want to awaken, if you want to experience nirvana or liberation, you have to enter the body. And there's so many traditions that are like, you must transcend the body, you must transcend your human experiences, become celibate, all of these things to go beyond and experience the beyond. But Tantra saying you enter more of yourself and you're imbibing the mystery. My body is the altar for me. Your body is the altar for you to experience your liberation. Because I also want to make this clear for couples that actually you're coming to my retreat to experience more of yourself.
Okay.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, our partner is our relationship with partner. Like, you are my spiritual practice.
Wow.
You know, being with you is my spiritual practice. But from a tantric perspective, it's so we can enter more of ourselves through the other, with the other. We're not losing ourselves in each other. Sometimes we can, consciously, and if it's unconscious, we've forgotten and then we remember again. There's so many parts to it. But I wanna check in with you, you know, knowing this, like having this experience with each other, our bodies as altars, our relationship as a spiritual practice. How has this changed the way you meet me? Because I think we have changed in the way we meet each other intimately. Or just in life.
Yeah.
What do you think could become possible in love if more couples engaged with each other in these radically intimate ways?
Wow. What won't become possible? I think we would be able to have so much more acceptance, so much more compassion, empathy, understanding of the other and of others. Even though we don't make love to everyone, we will probably have a greater capacity to love more people, because through these practices we'll be able to love ourselves and work through all the things that have prevented us from doing that.
Yeah, more capacity to love others.
What would you say?
Because I would, yeah, I agree with that, and I would say, if people engaged in this work, again, it's coming to self. The tantras are all about, it's about you, your experience of reality. All of reality is here for you. And you were saying more capacity to love others, and I say yes, and that comes from a capacity to fully, and I mean really authentically, love self. And then that permeates into our other relationships.
And our interactions with the things we do in life, as big or small.
Yeah. I think also what would become possible is I think there would be a lot less pain in relationships, a lot less entanglement in our patterns, even though that is a path for us. I think it could become yeah, I think we would slow down as a culture, and we would become so much more engaging with each moment.
Mm.
You know, instead of this rat race, up, down, big noise, intensity, bring it in, just slow down.
Sit in the emptiness.
Yeah, and relax into self. Okay, but do you have one more question?
Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah,
like
this
that,
is exciting.
that
This is
torture
exciting.
thing where they tell you there's one question and then they just keep asking more questions.
Just one more, I
It's
promise.
literally a form of torture. Okay, you have one more question and then I must go surfing.
Okay. Why do you feel this work isn't a luxury? Well, I'm asking you if you do feel it isn't a luxury, but something people cannot afford to keep avoiding.
Okay. Do I think it's a luxury or something people can't afford to?
Well, no, let me rephrase that. I think this work is not a luxury. You know, I don't think it's a luxury. I think it's something that people cannot afford to keep avoiding. Do you agree? And if so, why?
I do agree. I don't think it needs to be through this platform. You don't have to come to this retreat.
Oh, no.
But it needs to be, but it
deny.
But the work is incredibly important. And whether you find that work through Tantra or some other form of introspective work, deepening, presence forming work, but I will say my experience of this work is I think it is the most powerful work. I think it's the fastest, most accessible way to reach places in yourself and places of understanding and acceptance within yourself. So, yeah.
And this is why it's known as the lightning path.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Thanks, sweetie.
Okay.